I'm really interested to see what the Competition Market Authority is going to provide to us on its initial findings. So we should be getting that in the next number of weeks. They're looking at a number of key areas, and one actually which I think is absolutely needs to be examined carefully is whether the hyperscalers, and in this case it's particularly Microsoft that they're looking at, to see whether or not the licensing practices that exist today in the public cloud market are disadvantaging other cloud providers. And when we look at our proposition for some of our customers, we can see that in some areas we can offer our customers real value. In other areas, actually, workloads that could come to our cloud with the licensing element means that we can't offer value. And it would be great to see that in the interest of the customer, could we get some parity in the licensing models for service providers that equate to what Microsoft are able to offer to their customers? Because then I think that does then offer customers real choice, and as I said, the hyperscalers have a really important part to play in the ecosystem of service providers into the UK, without doubt, because without them we don't get the innovation that's there. So what we want to be able to do is to work alongside other cloud providers, and let's just not talk about hyperscalers, let's talk about cloud providers across the UK, work alongside one another and saying, well, ultimately, can we help our customers get the most cost-effective position from the cloud services, delivering a multi-cloud solution to them? And some of that will require, actually, I think, given the sensitivity around the data, or indeed in terms of the practicality of moving data around your environment. So for instance, if you have workloads that are running locally and those consuming it are local, then why would you want to potentially move that workload and its data away from where the concentration of users are? So it is quite complex, but actually for it to become something which is the right solution for the right requirement, then we need to make sure that commercially customers aren't paying more than they need to get it. And there are reports out there that would suggest that because of the way that licensing is working now between the very large providers and the more independent cloud providers, that where a customer may be able to get some cost benefit in moving the workload, the licensing impact negates the opportunity to do that. So that's one element, which is sort of limiting choice to customers, which evidently can't be right. And the other aspect is, well, actually by staying where I am now, because actually the licensing is more affordable, they may be paying more for the resources than they need to do it. So I just think when that comes out, if that comes out and that starts giving the opportunity for local cloud providers to be able to compete on a level footing, then I think our industry, and not just our industry, but actually the customers that the industry is there serving, will benefit from it significantly, because then they will have true choice. And some of that may be, actually, there's no change in anything. I'm still going to run my workloads where they are because that's the best place for them, which is great if that is the case. But if there's an opportunity to give the right mix of cloud for the customers, whilst building up the capability in the UK, because we have to do that. Providers have to do that. We have to invest. We have to have the appetite in the companies to invest in capability so we can offer an alternative. So it's not all about simply somebody coming and trying to level the playing field for us. There needs to be investment within industry, and that's what we've seen over the last couple of years. We have invested in an area which is new for us, but hopefully, it's going to be good for the company going forward. We're already seeing that we've more than turned the corner, and the investment is now starting to provide a great return for us. But ultimately, it's around, can we come together as service provider partners? Can we build a credible alternative? And can we give our customers true choice? And then I think once we're there, then you only have to tie that into where the UK industrial strategy at this moment in time, it sees digital technologies as a growth driving sector. So the opportunity, I think, for this industry is significant at this moment in time. Bring that with it, the advent of AI into the enterprise, and how do we truly transform what we're doing? It's going to unlock significant potential. And if we get it right, then we end up building a healthier, more prosperous society. And it's what we all want to be in. So I think there's something bigger than just looking at this as a commercial endeavor. I think there's an element of, we need to be doing things which are going to be right for the generations that come behind us. And that might seem wholly philanthropic at this moment, but it's right. I think we all need to be thinking that way. We need to be thinking about what legacy we're leaving behind, and we need to take control of it. And if we can take control of it, then we're starting off on the right foot. I think sovereignty means different things to different people. I think a lot of people view sovereignty as purely data locality. Actually, where is the data residing? But actually, sovereignty means more than that. Sovereignty means that it's owned and operated by nationals of your country. It's managed under the regulations of your country, and those things are important. And I think my perspective is it's not so long ago that we came out of the pandemic. And at that time, it became really important that we shared data across nations to be able to get to the point where we could have an effective vaccine. And as we start seeing what's happening across the UK and across the EU, we're starting to see a movement in the EU where the EU countries are becoming very, very particular over sovereignty, ensuring that they're going to maintain control over their data. And there's a concern for me that as a nation, as the UK, if we don't start thinking about how are we going to share information with our national partners in a time of the next pandemic, could that leave us significantly exposed? So if we go one direction, which is actually we're quite happy for our data assets to be sat in a hyperscaler, they're not necessarily controlled under the regulations of the UK, but our EU nations are saying, no, actually, we want a data framework in place. You must be able to comply with the data framework that we're going to insist on. And if you're not, we're not going to share data assets with you. So I think there is a concern over should we be more concerned with where we're putting our data. And I also draw parallels between 2 decades ago, we decided as a nation that we weren't going to invest in energy infrastructure. We decided that we would simply outsource all of our energy needs. And as soon as we had a strategic shift in that market, we as a nation felt it immediately, because I think we had the ability to store 1% of the needs, the country's needs in its energy capacity. And I sort of draw parallels to data. So what happens if we decide that we're going to outsource our data infrastructure? We're going to put all of our data into somebody else's data center. And what happens if something happens to those special relationships that we have that don't exist anymore? We're not simply going to be able to cover all that ground, create all that capacity that we need. So I think there is an element now for UK, its service providers, to start thinking about we're going to invest in data infrastructure. We're going to ensure that we provide a credible alternative to our customers so we can hold and manage their data in the way that they require it to. But more importantly, we're not going to undermine their ability to exploit their data in the way that they need to, because it's simply unaffordable to do so. Or we risk elements of their data by allowing access to data or sharing access to data when actually it's not the right thing to do. I've probably done about 50, 60 hours of reading on AI over the last number of months. And I'm sure most people in my sort of position are doing exactly the same, because we've got to get an understanding, a fair understanding in terms of how this transformative technology can be exploited to deliver, more prosperous economy. So I think it's great what HPE have done in terms of building out PCAI. I think there's an element where HPE have done really well in the past, which is looking at the digital next advisory methodology, where it's allowed customers to think around how they're going to digitally transform their business. So there's been a level of sort of business consultancy gone into customers to allow customers to understand how do we create a framework where we can truly look at how we're going to deliver digital outcomes out to our customer base, and then work back for that, look at what do we need in terms of professional skills, what do we need in terms of engineering capability, what do we need in terms of technology platform. And I think with the PCAI capability, I think if you join that up alongside the professional services consultancy element, so again, help customers understand how they can adopt AI in a responsible way, but the way that they can exploit it to its fullest extent, taking the concern of, well, how do I now build a technology platform to be able to now enact on that? Because that is not straightforward. That can be quite a complex piece in itself. But by bringing this turnkey offering to market, providing it supported with at the front end with all of the professional services through the business consultancy, then I think there's a great opportunity for partners to engage with customers with confidence that we can do the right thing by the customers. And then ultimately, when it's right to drop in a technology platform that's going to deliver the capability, we've got a partner there that can support us in doing that. Our investment has been ensuring that the data centers we provided offer the best level of security that we possibly can. All of our data centers are obviously evidently resident in the UK, and the people that we use to manage our services are UK nationals. So, but we go beyond that. As an organisation, we've been serving the UK public sector for over 40 years. In fact, we've been serving the Ministry of Defence for over 30 years. So there is an element where security is inherent within the way that we go about our business. So our intent is we are going to be a company that wants to support the public sector, wants the public sector to be able to deliver a better level of public service whilst driving out the associated cost of delivering that service, help them innovate. And in fact, our vision is around making sure that we're using technology to be able to solve issues that are affecting society today. Industry should be making a positive contribution to society. There's nothing more important than what's happening in our digital industry at this moment in time. You know, some people will view that what's happening in the digital industry is having a negative impact on society, and some could argue, I think it'd be difficult to argue in some instances it's not having a negative impact, but it has the potential to do so much good. It has the potential to transform the way that services are being delivered. We're a nation where we're all growing in our population. We're all actually living much longer. The burden that places on public services is significant. I don't think you'll ever square that circle unless industry steps up and does a little bit more for them. So I think with us, there's an element of who we are, our culture, what is important to us as an organisation. And by that, we end up being a very good partner for our customers. And of course, we do focus on the public sector, but that doesn't mean to say that we're not a good alternative as well for our customers that are residing in the commercial sector, because ultimately they're struggling with similar challenges. But the important thing of everything is to ensure that we never deny any of our customers the opportunity to do what is right by them. And that means that if they safeguard their data with ourselves, then we will make sure that they can have full control over that data. They can access it without any fear of us increasing charges, which means it becomes difficult to start getting value from the data. But as I suppose more importantly, I want customers to feel it's as easy to leave us as it is to come and find us and join us. And I think a lot of actually our other service providers in the UK have a similar mindset, actually. I think the mindset of the service providers that I've spoken to, HPE's other partners, is around, well, we should be stepping up and making a difference to what's happening across the UK. We should be ensuring that our customers can come and give us their business and trust us to do the right thing by them, and not look at this as being a way that we can retain them, exploit them, and prevent them actually from succeeding in what they need to do. we started off on this this journey of building our public cloud platform on GreenLake sort of 3 years ago. And we've been on a significant journey in that time. We've learned a great deal. We weren't your traditional service provider partner. Yes, we've been delivering managed services to certain sectors for many, many years, but we weren't a traditional data center provider that was then looking to say, well, actually, I'm going to move from co-location or managed services from within my own data center out to looking at public cloud provisioning. We sort of missed a number of steps, and we went straight into delivering public cloud services. And it's been a challenge, actually, to start driving that momentum into the sales cycle through our sales force, because it's quite complex. If you've been spending your time where the majority of our sellers have been, which is being a really good value-added reseller, then trying to get your sales force skilled up to start thinking around what does it mean to do something which is truly transformational for a customer, looking at how you transform how a customer is delivering its infrastructure services, it's very different. So over that 3 years, we've seen some really early success at the beginning, which probably gives a little bit of false confidence in terms of this is going to be really easy, to suddenly saying, wow, we were going 6-7 months in a sales cycle before we were closing the next deal. We've now got to the point where actually over the last 6 to 9 months, we've sort of accelerated a lot of the pipeline. We've closed the number of deals. Our TCV has grown quite pleasingly from where we were. And that's one of the major reasons we were getting into it, is we needed that security that TCV brings any organization. And now we've sort of elevated ourselves again, and we found that over this 3 years of engaging with customers, learning what customers need, building skills and capability within the business, actually we've got a very capable professional services organization supported by a very capable sales organization. So we're starting to see that not only are we growing our pipeline, we're shortening the sales cycle, and the value of the deals is increasing as well. But it's been a journey, and and HP have been fantastic on that journey with us. HP have supported us really well in terms of supporting us with resources, in supporting us with development funds for us to be able to go in and build some practice, build capability. But I think we're finally arriving at a point now where we feel that actually this is the start of what is going to be, I think, hopefully a very successful period in the company's journey, where we're going to see ourselves as still being a really good value-added reseller, still being a good managed service provider in certain sectors, but actually being known for being a company that can deliver data services, and whatever that may be, whether that's from data protection all the way through to exploiting value from data. And that's what I see the company heading towards over the next number of years. I think it's incumbent on all of UK service providers and cloud providers to make sure that they can give a credible alternative. And it's probably more poignant now than it has been at any time in our industry, because all of our customers are becoming far more aware of the value of data, the need to be able to exploit and extract insight from the data so they can start transforming their business. And you can only really start doing that if you're in control, of your data assets. And by that, I mean, it might be regulatory control. It might be ensuring that the data is being safeguarded in the way that you and your nation requires it to be. It might be controlled in terms of, if I'm going to gain access to my data, I know exactly what that's going to cost me in pounds and pence. Because as soon as you lose that element of control, you're already starting to cede ground in your ability to innovate and be able to drive value services either through your own organisation or those organisations that you're supporting.